Go for it.
Okay. Good evening, and can I have a motion to call the meeting to order?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
the
States
of the United States of America
And to the
and to the republic
for
which stands
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And then I'm going to begin. I'll turn over to Rich, and we'll begin with the news of the schools.
Yep. Rather than wait for old business and COVID updates, I know we promised the community that we would be reflecting upon and trying to figure out a way of bringing more students back for in-person learning. It's really, in my mind, hard to believe that it's almost a year. March 13th, I can still remember that day when schools were closed. We're almost at the year mark. And I think we all are in agreement that we need to make a change now. I think things are opening up a bit. There's been much discussion at many different levels. We had a board academic committee meeting last Thursday, and we just were fleshing out some ideas. And I think the principals at this point are going to be able to give a better indication of like where we're going to go with the various schools. So maybe Adam, if you wanted to just put your ideas into, and we can go from there then.
Yeah, I'll give a basic synopsis, and then I'll turn it over to principals, who did all the real work in conjunction to our medical personnel. Again, I want to support and say, the board in our academic meeting, we had a very fruitful discussion. We all know that Toldus has taken on our kids, and we want to get the kids back. So, James is going to talk a little bit about bringing, his 11th and 12th grade back full time, and 9th and 10th adding some days to their weeks. Charlie's going to talk about bringing the 8th grade back and the timeline. Charlie will, I don't know if Charlie will elaborate, but the goal would then be to get the 6th and 7th grade back around the start of the 4th quarter full time too. Both buildings have unique situations. Specifically, the most important one being the size or the physical plant. The classroom size, the ventilation, and the dynamics are a little different. But the bottom line is both gentlemen put together very comprehensive plans to bring back our students. And I believe it's probably 2 weeks from around today, but I don't want to misspeak. So I'll turn it over to Charlie.
Right. Adam, and I just wanted to also recognize the elementary school because we're on a trimester a marking period. There's a slight delay. Karen, just when are you thinking of making the possible change for your building or asking for
this week? Hopefully tomorrow the commitment form will go out for families to make a decision about that third trimester.
Okay.
Our constraint also is the physical plant. We currently have around 70 students on the remote platform. If all 70 students opted to come back into the building, we would be looking at potentially closer than 6 feet within the classroom. So we will put that out in the survey so parents know that that's the decision they're making. I don't anticipate all 70 of our students coming back, but until we send out that commitment form, we really don't know exactly how many are planning to come back into the building. But our chief medical officer, I know, is comfortable. I've spoken with both you, Rich, as the superintendent, and Adam as assistant superintendent, that we would never go closer than 4 feet. And it would depend, it would just depend on how many students and families decided to come back to in-person learning. And we would, at that point, then ask for students and staff to be double masked. So I'll have more information once that commitment form goes out.
And we'll move to you. I just didn't want to, I wanted to make sure that you were part of the plan. I didn't want elementary
Thank
school
you, Rich.
parents to
Thank
think
you.
Okay. So maybe, I'm not sure, Charlie, James, your choice, who wants to go?
Yeah, I can go. We've had the same discussions, Rich, that you outlined from the beginning at the building level, and the feedback based on what the direction of the board academic committee that Adam talked about. The feedback from our site-based and from our PTA was resounding in terms of supporting a plan to get the kids back into the building, and very, very positive, as you might expect. So the idea for us is, given how small we are, that during the discussion, both Harriet and Wendy Gearing had said that we would have to be double masked, period. There'd be no way for us to add more kids without that. So that will be our big change, that everyone is going to have to wear as an underlayer, a disposable surgical, one of those blue type masks with a cloth mask over it, because we'd basically be returning to our normal seating. Those people who have had kids in the middle school know we transition all of our desks and chairs to activity tables. So it forces kids to be next to each other. We're going back to that. That's the only way we can seat everybody. So we're going to have to increase the dividers. And we have, Elsie told me today, we'll actually have 700 dividers, because you remember, where the kids don't take it with them. They're set up in each classroom. We're going to have them arranged as the teachers want them, and each one is going to want to do something a little bit different. Some may have, because they push the tables together and make larger activity tables. Some do large rings. I'm going to leave it up to them, because everyone will be double masked, and everyone will have a shield at each desk site. And then, our plan is on the 15th of March, as I said to the parents, and as we talked about in our meetings, that the 8th grade would come back first, and then we'll have 2 weeks to see how it goes and make any changes that we need to. And then after the break, Adam, you said the 4th marking period, we're actually not going to
earlier.
Yeah, we're not going to wait until the 4th marking period. After the break, assuming all goes well, the conditions remain the same, we'll bring back grades 6 and 7 with the same kind of configuration. But once we start on March 15th, assuming the board approves this plan, we're going to do the double masking for everybody. So it's not just going to be for the 8th grade, but it will be for the entire building.
That's a good idea. Yep.
And then as far as other changes, the main ones I think to highlight is we're going to create another cafeteria space, which will be our library. So Tony was actually in the building today, and we talked about how dismantling of the bookcases would work, and relocation, moving of all those books, because that room has to be completely cleared out. And we're going to put 8 more circular cafeteria tables. And like we did last year, we're going, or rather when we brought kids back at the beginning of the year with hybrid, we're going to X out 4 of the seats, because there we are going to maintain the distancing that we started with, because kids will be without masks. And that won't be longer than 20 minutes. And then we're going to have rigid dividers at each table that are much higher than the ones that we would use in the classroom. And those are the main changes. Otherwise, we're keeping everything the way it was. We're still going to continue with instruction being modified in PE, family consumer science, technology, art, and music. We can't really make changes to those things. And we're going to also maintain not having visitors in the building, not having shareables, just because those are safe practices. The main change will be double masking, brand new and expanded cafeteria space, and then seating as normal, so kids will be close to each other. And the only other 2 things to consider, and I said this to our parents as well, that there are no guarantees with this. We're going to, if conditions change, we're going to follow the medical advice, and we may have to fall back to hybrid. And then the other issue is that I think if this works, which I'm hoping it does, we have to start to think about sustainability with our live stream, because it's been a real heavy lift for teachers to maintain both live stream and classroom instruction. What happens is you usually default to live stream in the kids who are at home, and you modify your instruction according to that. I think it's one thing that we've done this now, as Rich reminded us, from last March to now, so a year, and it's been an emergency. And, I can't imagine changing or recommending to change that now. I think we have to take it through the end of the year. But I think we have to start thinking about next year, because I've talked about this at a board meeting before. It's this divided attention, and it's really, really challenging. And it's just, I don't see that we can continue to sustain that in the future if we're going to be under conditions when everyone can come back.
Right.
Yeah. Charlie, can I just jump in? I just want to concur. And I think for the board going forward, and one of the things that I think Rich and I kind of regret going forward is really getting our feet moving on the start of next year. So I think one of the things, we'll look at towards the reorg meeting in July is choices and decisions that the board's going to have to make regarding offering the remote live stream as even an option, or offering any type of non-in-person instruction. And then if we do offer it, what are we doing with that live stream? I agree with Charlie. It was a very good thing this year to help us get through this year. But as many of you know, and we've talked about it publicly, there are some many downsides to it. And to be honest, at this point, and Charlie is 100% right, this move to in-person learning could go horribly wrong if the teachers do not have more of their attention focused on those students who are in person, especially in a middle school, with middle school age children. That's where that priority focus needs to be, with not only because they're middle schools and, their adolescents and their behavior, but because of the social distancing protocols that we have, the masking protocols and the plexiglass protocols. That's where their focus needs to be, because we do not want to take two steps back. I think we all agree that we really want to continue to move forward, bringing students back for the remainder of the year.
Yep. Well said.
Is everyone in agreement, though, to keep it going until the end of the school year?
Yes.
And then we'll reevaluate
Yes.
for the fall, depending on the, circumstances at the time. Okay.
Right.
That really works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think we have to look at it, and it's one, you may have kids though who have a legitimate medical reason for being at home if you decide to make a change, and there we would accommodate some kind of home instruction, as we always have.
Yes.
Right.
Especially with COVID, that's brought that to light. So I wouldn't want those people to feel left out, but certainly if people are making a choice once we all go back to say, well, I would rather be at home,
right.
It's really challenging. But I don't think we should stop it now. We have to see this through. It's still an emergency, a very long one, but,
right.
we've got a few more months.
I think one of the things that all of us have learned during COVID is that it's really hard to plan the future with any certainty right now. It's such a fast moving thing. So I think the idea of looking at different scenarios and planning to be back, what it means to be back full time next year with the options is smart. And I think we just look and see where the world is at. I think all of us want to have that. I mean, we may have this new Johnson & Johnson vaccine may be widely available to everybody. And we may decide that's the way that, I think there's so many options here.
And I don't know if anybody saw the news. I saw at least the headline, but they're talking about having a vaccine for every adult by the end of May now.
Right. Exactly.
Which is welcoming news. And listen, that changes everything.
Yeah.
Not so
and
much
honestly, having the vaccine and a lot of our staff is finally having some access to it.
Yeah.
I think that makes me feel more comfortable,
Yes.
with the situation. How many, Rich, do you know off the top of your head still need the vaccine?
I think we just went over 100 at this point that have the vaccine, but there are many people now that have appointments. They're really starting to open up.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
we've been trying to do our best. We just can open the door. That's, I just want to get that out there, that we're not responsible for the supply and giving the vaccine or whatever. Anytime there's an opening or we hear of a website, we get that out, we shoot that out to the staff. I know there's a lot of frustration, and hey, I'm the first one to agree. Anyone working in a school, any educator, non-instructional, instructional, should be given that vaccine. I think we're getting closer to that point.
I want to add to that I think that as we start up on the 15th, that we try to do everything we can. Any staff member that wants to be vaccinated, we're sure that we've tried to help them get vaccinated, including, there still isn't, today they announced that the Javits Center is open 24 hours a day.
Yes.
But where is a good test site out on the East End? And I think we've got to bug Peter Van Scoyac and Fred Thiel and Ballone and get them to take care of the East End, especially because we're now because we are stepping forward and trying to get our schools open. School personnel are on the priority list to get vaccinated, and the only reason some of our staff has not become available, and that's wrong.
Well,
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay, hey, Charlie, you're good.
All set, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for all the time and leadership you've put into this. James, could you please take the floor?
Certainly. All right. So at the high school, we're very fortunate because of just the size that we have, that we can do some interesting things. Everything that we're going to do, we're going to still remain at, we can, because of our size, can do it 6 feet social distancing, which is, it's really nice, obviously. So we're not increasing the amount of close contacts that are going to happen throughout the building. So the first thing is we're going to have our seniors back for 5 days. Which will be good, obviously. We're going to have our juniors also who will be back for 5 days. The juniors in particular I thought was important because in terms of actual grades, that's the grade level that's struggling the most. But there's struggling students at every grade level. That's why if we had the capacity, I wanted to see if we can get freshmen and sophomore additional time, which we have the ability to do. It's not going to be for 5 days for freshmen and sophomore. We can do out of a 20-day cycle, it'll be 15 days. So basically, there'll be 3 weeks where they'll be in 4 days, and 1 week of those where they'll be in 3 days. Any student who is currently enrolled for 5 days, they're going to continue in that because we brought some at-risk students back in and students who had other situations. So we're not taking away from those students who have already been in. Any student who is currently fully virtual is going to need to remain fully virtual. That was when we got the students to go fully virtual. They agreed until April, so we're going to continue with that, and they'll have an opportunity to return Q4, and I'll be communicating out with them. And if based off of what we agreed upon today, if a parent decides that they're not comfortable with it and they want their student to go full virtual, they have that opportunity, as well too. So there's, there's some good options that are out there. Of course, with everything, the devil's in the details, right? So the first thing is for us to maintain social distancing, we are going to have to use an overage room, which basically every classroom has a certain max number of students that we can have in it. And on a given day, if it exceeds that, the additional students, which I'll explain in a little bit, will have to go into the overage room. Actually, I'll dive into that right now because it's kind of a little bit central to it. So the overage room, which is going to be, depending on the period, either the auditorium or the cafeteria, we have adequate staff who will be in there because I was able to fold the study halls in. One thing that's really important, because when you hear about that, you think, oh my God, I don't want my child to be in the overage room, all day. That isn't the case. I've actually developed a schedule for every kid right now in terms of what it would look like. And no student would be in the overage room for more than one period in a given day. Actually kind of jotted down some notes here. It'll be max for the 9th through 10th graders. I think it's going to be max 3 periods in a week. And for some of our seniors, it might go up to 4 periods in a week, or seniors and juniors who are here 5 days. I will put the little asterisks. I haven't put in the any overage generated from chorus and music and from PE, but it's not going to make a substantial change. And what I just talked about, I just need to work out some room things with those folks, which will be done, during the week if we go forward with this. So the other thing is the senior lounge is going to need to be moved in order to create some space. That's getting moved to the library. Actually, when I look at it, senior lounge is actually going to look nicer than ever in terms of space. But it's definitely something the senior lounge, depending on how next year starts, where we really need to relook at that in terms of best utilization of space. But that's kind of a conversation down the road, but I did want to put that out there. We're going to use.
So it will be cafeteria tables being moved in there, or what?
No, it's going to be kind of a mix of things. We're going to have a mix of desks. There's already some really nice library seating that's in there.
Right.
And, you know, they're still going to have the ping pong tables and room for stuff like that.
So it'll be another overage room?
It wouldn't be another overage room. It would be specifically for the senior lounge. So those who are scheduled for the senior lounge would be able to go, you know, into that room just as they do now.
But I mean the old senior lounge that you're moving?
Good question. The old senior lounge, I actually need that space for cafeteria seating, which kind of segues right into the next thing. So we're going to use that to bolster our cafeteria seating. We're also going to be putting some extra desks in the cafeteria so we can get to the number and still socially distance. Obviously, things get a lot easier when the weather gets nicer out, because then, you know, there's plenty, like we have tons of seating, you know, when the weather gets nice out. So that's going to help us out. We're going to encourage double masking strongly. And we were talking today that we can get the plexis on all of the desks as well too. So that's like another layer of added support that we could have, even though we're not increasing the amount of close contacts. Having that extra layer will be important. At some point, we probably want to do that anyway, so may as well do it now. There would be a modification, you know, with the cohorts. I don't know if I want to dive deep into that right now because it can be a little bit confusing, but I do have that up on the website for people to see. And assuming we go forward with this today, we're going to be spending, not this week, but the next week, really kind of diving in deep with our students so they're on board with the schedule and how it works when students would go into an overage, so there wouldn't be any confusion with that. There would be, the game plan is, because it is different, there would be things that would be posted on the student schedule, things that would be on the website, so you would know exactly when you need to come in, and it'd be communicated to you when you have to go to an overage room. Most students actually won't have to go to an overage room. Most students are, for a lot of students, this is not going to really impact their lives other than they're coming to school, you know, for an extra day, or in some cases too. So it's a real plus, you know, in that regards. And once again, being able to do this without increasing close contact by keeping 6 feet, because just the size of our building, we really lucked out. I think it's something that's going to benefit all of our students, because as all the parents out there know, you know, whether you're 9th grade or 10th grade or 11th grade or 12th grade, like your child needs to be back in school. It's not healthy, you know, not being, you know, out of school fully.
Definitely.
Thank you, James. I mean, to sum up, I mean, we really want the kids back in school, and I think we can do it safely from middle school and high school perspective. It's a little different. Karen, if you could just chime in now, because you're not on a quarterly, you don't get report cards 4 times a year on a quarterly basis like the other 2 schools. You're on a trimester plan, so there's a little bit of a difference that way.
Yeah, so I'll just say again that our 3rd trimester starts on April 5th. This week, a commitment form will go out for families to choose whether for that 3rd trimester, it's a full trimester commitment if they want to be in the remote classroom or come back to in-person learning. And once we have the numbers of students that will be back into in-person learning, we will talk about any changes that we'll make in our safety protocol. But we're in, you know, great shape right now with our masks, our plexiglass, and our distance. And again, if the distance is compromised from 6 feet in any way, it certainly would not go below 4 feet, and we would then require the double masking, just as the middle school is requiring that.
Okay.
Can I ask, for the elementary school and the high school, you know, the warm weather is coming, and I know we have tents and everything else. This is more of a problem for the middle school because of the lack of space. But that should also help, right?
Christina, I can't wait. I can't wait. Yes. Yeah, for you know, we're so fortunate. All of our classrooms have that exterior exterior door. So as the weather gets nicer, we'll certainly encourage classes to be meeting outside and get those tents back up.
Right. And there's no way that we can do that with the high school, with the middle school. Like, can we do some sort of tented area, but giving up part of the parking lot in the back, or is that not feasible? Is it not something that we want to do?
I don't know. I mean, I don't see how we can, the parking is at a premium as it is.
I know.
Well, you know what? We do use the outdoor space, and
In the front lawn, right?
frequently have music outside on the front lawn, also in the back. Teachers have taken groups across the street when they have everybody, because
Right.
you can't do it if you're streaming. So we do utilize the outdoor space, but not at the level you're talking about with tents.
Right.
I don't know. I don't really think we have the space for that, unfortunately.
Right.
But we're going to have everybody back. So, and we'll be double masked. And we are keeping in place all those other things. Like I didn't mention ventilation and the upgrades that you all did. I think we'll be in good shape.
That's right.
Okay.
I just want to thank everybody. Thank Rich and Adam and Tim and all the principals. I know there's a lot of work, and the unions, there's a lot of buy-in from everybody, but thanks to public, we've gotten a lot of emails from parents, and thanks for being patient. We want to do it, but we want to do it properly and safely. And I think that we're on track for this. So if people just bear with us, we'll get to our goal.
Right. And not everyone is going to be happy with the decisions. And that's why we felt it was important to keep the remote only option. So, and again, we'll have to see what happens,
Yep.
Can I ask a question, which I probably should have brought up at academic committee and forgot to, but I just want to, we don't have to have a full conversation about it right now. I just want to raise it so I don't forget about it. And it was spurred by, I ran into a very well-respected teacher at the One Stop the other day, and she's retired now. And she asked me, what I thought about testing, standardized testing. And I thought the answer was going to be bad, but was really sort of encouraging some form of testing to assess, after we've lost a full year of learning here. And we have talked about this in academic committee. I do believe that we've lost a substantial, and at no fault to our teachers at all, but, kids just don't learn as well online, period. So sort of seeing sort of where we are and finding a way to look at, the ground we've lost and whether or not what we're thinking about with respect to standardized testing. And actually, after I sort of recovered from the shock of having a teacher say yay for standardized testing, I thought about it, and I thought it was a very good idea. If there was a way to do it in a sort of non-timed, non-stressful, non-consequential way, just to give us a benchmark of where we are after this year. I'm actually concerned about it. As a parent, and as I have a junior. I'm not quite as concerned about it as a junior as for other grades, but I think we've lost a lot of time with these kids.
Yep. Agreed, Jackie.
So can you guys, I don't know if you have a thought on it now, or we can have a subsequent conversation.
Well, we've also been talking about some type of summer school academy that we're going to present to the board. So that would even be more immediate too, in terms of remediation. But some of those issues are really, in a way, out of our hands. It's really between the federal government and state SED. And I think really the federal government's position at this point is that they do want to see some type of testing for the exact reason you brought up. We just have to have some type of a evaluative tool to help us see where kids are. And we've been very strong on that before COVID. Data informs instruction. And we will need data. So it will be part of the plan. I'm just not sure how it's going to flesh out at this point.
Want to see.
3 through 8 testing is still a go. Obviously, the state had the waiver denied. We just got, right during this meeting, SED just issued the regencies that will be given, which will be algebra. Algebra will be given this year. Living environment, earth science, and English will be given this year. All other regencies will not be given, and the August regencies were just canceled. So we will have some baseline data from that. From the, how reliable that data is always a good question. There is the idea, notion, and I could talk to the principals about looking into some of the other assessments. The elementary school already has embedded assessments in their day or their year for their kids, so they're getting ongoing information to inform, really student progress. I think for the other two buildings, it's kind of a discussion. Charlie's building, I think, will be covered with the 3 through 8. And I'm sure, James couple getting a snapshot using, really more of a qualitative picture using the grades combined with some of those basic entry-level Regents exams, and possibility if James wants to explore another form of assessment, I'm all ears for him. Maybe towards the end of the year or maybe even the beginning of next year. But I'm sure we could talk about it as academic. I think it would be a great topic actually to talk about.
Yeah.
So what happens if you take the Regents in June, if they're going to keep some of the Regents, and then they take away the August, which is when, if you don't do well on the June one, you retake it.
So I haven't finished reading.
Either do it or don't,
So I haven't finished reading the memo because it's on my phone, and Rich yells at me when I look at my phone during these
I
meetings.
can help you out, Adam, because I read that part. They're saying that it's and I don't know how it's all going to work, but they're not going to be used as a graduation requirement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, James.
So just to, real quick summary, 2 lines. The changes we're making, I think the board is in agreement. We'll start March 15th. We'll have 2 weeks right before break to understand if we're successful or not, and then we'll move from there. The other piece too is that Wendy, our COVID rep, wanted to make sure we got the word out tonight that we will be going to the New York State guidelines in terms of when people do take trips out of state. We're going to be able to use maybe Tim. I don't think we have to get into the details yet, but there's 3 requirements that are needed for that. But after 3 days of return, if there's a negative test, folks will be able to return back. That 14-day quarantine period, we're eliminating that at this point.
But they have to test 3 days before they come home too. It's a whole series.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So we're going to more strictly follow and adhere to the New York State guidelines. And we'll get a memo out to that, to staff and parents, because I know many families are anxious about travel plans for this next school break.
I know LTV's mentioned that we have 1 caller holding already. Do we want to go to the public comments just about this? Or do you want?
I think we should, whatever we have public comment for, let's not be, I don't want to make people wait on hold.
Right.
During
Okay.
this time, unless everybody else doesn't agree, but.
Well, we're kind of at that point now anyway, JP.
Okay,
That's the next agenda item.
okay. Matt, do you still have the person on hold?
They literally just dropped.
All right. Was there anything else we need to cover? If the caller wants to call back, please do. But we welcome your comment. But anything else that needs to be done, or we move on to the consent agenda.
And there's also another public comment section.
There is, and we'll be getting to it pretty quick at this rate. So,
Yeah.
okay. So I'll move to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and then we're going to go to the superintendent's reports and recommendations. And beginning with item number 1, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Be resolved that the Board of Education of the East Hampton Union Free School District approve an employment agreement between the board and Timothy B. Fromm, Assistant Superintendent, dated March 2nd, 2021, and be it further resolved that the board authorize the president of the board to execute the employment agreement on behalf of the board. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Welcome. I know we haven't voted yet, Tim, but welcome. And I think everybody feels the same way. It's an exciting day for us and you, and looking forward to it.
Very excited and very grateful for the opportunity to continue my years at East Hampton. It's a very special place to me, and thank you for opening the doors for us. So,
and a Bonnicker holding the title is kind of nice.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Thank you.
A graduate from East Hampton High School. When did you actually graduate, Tim? Was it 1990?
It seemed like yesterday, but it was 93.
93.
So I'm starting to feel a little closer to the older ages and the younger days. So
Yes, I remember that rowdy class. Yes,
it was a nay. It was not me.
Hey, congratulations, Tim.
Thank you all.
Well deserved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 2, recommended that the board accept the letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement from Troy Grindle, music teacher, effective close of business day on June 30th, 2021. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Congratulations, Troy. I was, I guess, some ways surprised by that one. I don't know why. Just sad day. I'll miss Troy.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I saw that. I was
Yeah.
like, oh.
Yeah, I wasn't
And
expecting
you know,
that
if he's watching, Troy, you've done so much for the district. You've always been a huge pleasure to work with like a great attitude. I love your defense of like the new instruments that we need every year in the budget process, and really have enjoyed working with you and wish you well.
Agree.
Agreed.
I'm going to
Yes.
ask Troy if maybe he'll come back and help set up especially at the high school music, high school concerts. He would always be bringing all the music stands, the chairs, whatever. The energy level that he had was just amazing. So I don't know who's going to replace that. So maybe Troy would come back as a guest appearance just to help move those concerts through more quickly.
Yeah, more big shoes to fill.
Right.
It was very dedicated.
Big time.
Right. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Number 3, recommend the board accept the letter of resignation for the purposes of retirement from Diane Tutulio, paraprofessional, effective close of business on March 19th, 2021. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Second.
Discussion, congratulations. I don't know her as well, but
Yeah, Diane
Yeah.
Tutino, thank you so much, Diane. She gave years of service and really cared for our kids
Yeah.
in her
Long
role as
time.
paraprofessional.
Long,
I know.
Yeah.
long time. She
Very
worked with-
dedicated
Worked
to-
with my mom for a long time too.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Excellent. All right.
Congratulations, Diane.
Yes, definitely. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 4, recommend the board approve the following appointments for the 2020-21 school year. And it begins with a John Marshall lunch monitor down to coaches and ends with, let's see, who's the last one? Nicole Calloway for boys JV volleyball. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 6, recommend that the board approve the following budget transfers due to salary code adjustments. It starts with custodial salaries.
JP, you just missed
Pardon me, I'm sorry, you skipped number 5.
number 5.
Oh, I did. Geez, I crossed it out. Sorry. Got
Yep.
low lighting here, so I'll blame it on the low lighting. So I'll go with 5 first. So recommend the board approve the contract for receipt of the federal Part B flow-through allocations for the 2020-21 school year between the East Hampton Union Free School District and Alternatives for Children and Suffolk County Department of Health. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Second.
I don't know there's much to discuss, but feel free.
That's a typical yearly thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy Allen Tuck, for putting that grant together. And, we get some of the money back, but unfortunately we have to, is this the way the federal law is established? It gets pushed through to those 2 institutions.
Okay,
And Alternatives is a wonderful program for us, so.
good. Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I go back to 6 again. Recommend the board approve the following budget transfers due to salary code adjustments, and it begins with the custodians, and I'm not sure, it ends with foreign language and guidance. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion, anything, these are just moving from lot of times one building to another, or
Yeah,
it's not additional, I don't believe, unless Keith can correct me, but I think it's just moving.
definitely not additional.
You're
No,
right, JP. Yep, you're right. Thank
Anybody have any questions or anything?
No.
All right. All in favor?
Hi.
Any opposed? And then do we want to just go over the schedule for the committee schedule now?
sure.
So we got for March, facilities is March 11th, academic is also March 11th, and policy. So beginning 9:15, 1, and then immediately following academic will be policy. March 24th will be personnel at 1 and athletics at 2. March 25th will be audit committee at 9:15.
Now, do we want to discuss, I know, Jay, you do, being back in person for some of these meetings and resuming some meetings in person for those who want to, for at least our, regular school board meetings?
Yeah.
Because the Zoom is honestly, it's killing me. It drives me crazy, this method of communicating, and we're all, talking on top of each other. And
Yes, and keep it as we did. If you don't want to come and there's a reason that some people can or don't want to come, you can Zoom, but I would like to go back to what we had. And I also would like to go back to the public being able to attend at some point, set a limit. If we're bringing kids back, and I don't know what the formula is for that, but we don't get a tremendous amount of people, and maybe we move it into another bigger room, but I think we need to do something.
Agreed.
We can figure out something.
Tim about it today, but I think it can be done.
Yep, we'll figure out something. We'll get something going.
So can we do that for a budget for next Tuesday?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, you just cannot have a robust conversation.
No.
In this manner, you can't.
I totally agree.
Or maybe I can't.
Yeah, no, it's a different sort of way of doing things. I'd rather go back to the old way if we can. If it's safe and we can, let's do it. We took a little.
Well, and a number of us are vaccinated as well already, and
and that's
we can double
another
mask.
thing too. You're right.
That's right.
That's very true. Good.
Okay.
And then, did we already hit the COVID update, or do you want to? You have more for that, Rich, for old business.
I think we're good with that, but I would like to just include Joe's sports in that. We didn't really discuss that with news of the schools. So, Joe, are you with us still?
Yes.
Yeah, Joe, if you could just give us an update on sports.
Okay. At the last athletic committee meeting, we talked about how winter went. And now going into the fall season, we have all the fall sports that normally happen in August are now back playing in March. I wanted to thank Wendy, Gary, Lorraine, and Barbara, and Nick Jarbo. It's been a big monumental task doing this, and their help is immeasurable. There's a lot going on. But one of the things I wanted to make clear about bringing the kids back, there's a lot of smiles out there. There's a lot of people. All of our rosters are full. Kids are really happy. I met with the entire program the other day and again stressed the importance of wearing a mask 100% of the time when you're out there. It was made very clear to me in the athletic committee meeting and what we experienced in the wintertime. So we told the kids, and I've shared with them pretty clearly, they need to wear their mask 100% of the time so we can stay out there. Obviously, you have to drop your mask when you're playing to breathe, and we're asking you to build your tolerance. So get to the point where you can keep it on the majority of the time you're playing, because we did see a lot of kids drop the mask way too often in the winter season. So we really want to stress that with the kids, and it really puts our program at jeopardy if they don't follow that mandate that we're asking them to do. So it was pretty clear, and the kids are excited, and so far so good with that. So I know if anyone wanted to comment on that, that's great. And then I have one more thing that's good news.
I'll just speak, and I know Sandy, I can't remember who else was at the athletic committee meeting, but I think that I'll say as a board member, Joe, if you need a bad guy here, the board members at the athletic committee felt very, very strongly. We saw a lot of pictures of totally unmasked kids, particularly I'm going to call out some of the boys basketball players. And I'm calling you out because your activities threaten the rest of our kids coming back. And athletics is a hugely important part of our school. I know my daughter, who is a varsity athlete's experience at school would have not been the same without sports. But if sports cannot be responsible, we're going to put academics first. And that's just the bottom line. If the athletes don't adhere to our rules, then the athletic committee spoke and said we will not continue athletics if they can't wear masks and respect the rest of this community. Sandy, did you want to add to that?
Yes. No, that's what we decided, that, they have to wear the mask.
That was made very clear to me, and I shared it very clearly with the coaches and the athletes. During a game, if they need to take it down and get a breath, that's fine, but you got to put it back on. And especially every stoppage and every sideline, it was very clear. So that message is clear to them.
Good job. Thank you.
Yeah. And again, we've been out since March 13th. We want to really try to bring students back as safely and quickly as possible. Just today alone, in the first grade class, I think it was 6 students had to be quarantined because of a positive case. So the virus is still here. Any effort we're making, and there's been so much work in trying to get this done correctly, is going to put us in jeopardy. And we will go back, just out of safety concerns, that we will have to go back to remote learning if people don't adhere to requirements.
I mean, there was just a big article in the paper yesterday, a new big CDC study that shows the amount of transmission that's been happening in gyms. I mean, it's serious. Athletics are definitely an Achilles heel for this, for the school and for everybody. So you can do it right.
Yep.
I'll add one more thing today. Section 11, and I was really happy about this, is going to allow spectators for outdoor activities and indoor activities. We spoke about this, Rich and I, and the athletic committee. For East Hampton, we're going to allow only home spectators for outdoor activities and home spectators for indoor activities. And the limit from the section is 2 per athlete. And I'll be enforcing that. We're using the gate list. You still have the NFHS network for when we go away games. So our parents are not going to be traveling to games, and we're going to have no visitors. But we will have home spectators, 2 per athlete on the gate list. We're not trying to do anything but follow the guideline. This is not to be confrontational. I'm excited to have people back. I have my own daughter who plays sports. I can't go see her. I hope we move in that direction also. So when people come, it's 2 per athlete, home only, and there's going to be a gate list. So we're excited, and the bleachers will be marked 6 feet apart, and we'll make it work. And everyone has to be masked 100% of the time.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So I think we're up to new business, and Adam, if you could pick that up just in terms of the district-wide safety plan.
Sure. So we adopted the district-wide safety plan a little late this year. I guess we probably did it 2 months ago. That was our standard plan. It is a general plan that we always adopt. We have to by SED guidelines. Well, what happened was right after that, the governor issued a memo to all schools to create appendix or addendums to these plans to reflect how a district will surprisingly deal with a pandemic. So,
are you kidding?
So weird, right? These long pages.
But
so,
I got that.
Oh dear God.
We kind of, with the help of our representatives in Eastern Suffolk BOCES, myself, a lot of help, a lot of shout out to Wendy, both the bargaining, 2 largest bargaining units. We put together these plans, which would be our district's response to if we have another pandemic. Really, it's just kind of stuff we all know. I'm not going to bore you with all that, but one of the things it does identify, and it's public, is really the essential workers, and who would be considered an essential worker, say we go full remote again or whatnot. It is delineated in the plan, which and Kerry could correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's been on the website for the public to view, but that's kind of the thing. It does talk about, the general processes, what we would do, who would we alert, who would we contact in Department of Health, all the stuff that we've gone over now.
So everything that we just made up as we went along. I mean, consider where we were a year ago when we were, I lived at that school for a week where we were on the phone trying to find out something as simple as if we went to a remote learning, were they going to credit us that school as a school
Yeah.
day? Or were they going to make us come to school in the summer? And we
Yes.
were holding off canceling school because it took days and days and days to get a simple question like that answered,
Yeah.
which I don't even think we ever wound up getting it answered. We just wound
Yeah.
up closing school and then they had no choice. But
Right. Yeah, they
I
had
mean,
the-
like, this is how far we've come in a year. So, I mean, honestly, it's a little insulting for them to come back
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like,
Hey, we're
we
ready.
made that
listen, we
plan
are
for
ready.
them.
We're ready for the next pandemic. We have a full plan.
And we had to have a
Hopefully
reopening plan. We had to have a reopening plan to open this year anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Same plan, right? So
Yep.
we should ask the state we'll designate essential workers and they can designate what counts as school days. That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my God.
All right, good.
Crazy.
Enough
Okay,
of that.
JP, I think we're good. I think we're going to public comment.
Yeah, Matt, do we have anybody for public comment this round?
Rich, I have a new business though. All right, can I get?
Wait,
Can I
just
get-
make sure there's
No,
no
he's
public.
got the lifeguard hat.
Is there
I
no?
got
pub-
the-
We're okay with no public comment, Matt?
We have 0 callers. Thank
Okay.
Thank you.
John, you're on.
So I wear a lot of hats, and I got this one on right now. I want to brag about what we did last summer. The East Hampton town wrote protocols to open our beaches, not only East Hampton beaches, but that helped all the beaches open. We then started to train lifeguards. We trained more lifeguards last summer than we've ever trained, and we trained more lifeguards last summer, at least 50% more than all of Suffolk County. So that was, and then we started our junior program. It started late, and we started it safely, and with our lifeguards and with our juniors, it ran successfully last summer. And it had to be changed. It had to be done with lack of crowds. We didn't have tournaments, and we didn't have large gatherings, but we had 300 kids have a great summer in doing that. And so this summer, I know we got too much water, we got too much snow, and we got too much rain, but we always have our ocean. It's cold now, but we are planning as of March 13th to start getting lifeguards in a conditioning course and getting junior lifeguards qualified to be in our summer program. Last year, we did not accept any new junior lifeguards or nippers. This year, we are training only new junior lifeguards and nippers. We're opening up all our programs. We are not sure how we're going to run our summer program. It probably will not be like it was in 2019. It'll probably look more like 2020 as we did it. But we are beginning at the Y on Saturdays to run sessions for only new junior lifeguards later on in May, new nippers, and right now, any lifeguards that want to get ready to take our Stillwater and Ocean courses, we want to get you in swimming shape. The restrictions are no parents, only 24 in the pool. All the protocols are going to be safe at the Y pool. But finally, we are going to be able to use the Y pool to start our training for our juniors and our nippers. And on May 1st, we are running a kickoff party to celebrate the summer of 2021, which is going to be far better than ever was. So at the Harbor Bistro, we're going to celebrate the opening of our season and our summer, and we go forward. And God bless America. And one more thing, Richie is moving on from our superintendency, but he has built a mansion in Montauk, right at Ditch Plains, which happens to be the best surfing spot in all of the Atlantic Ocean. And Richie's going to be in charge of that.
I'll gladly take that charge. Florence said that she was going to join me. I'm giving her surfing lessons only if Adam comes in the water too.
I'd be delighted. I'd be delighted. My kids will be so impressed.
John Ryan, thank you for all you do. You're a rock star.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you, John.
amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Or are we good?
I think we're good.
All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
A second.
Oh, sorry,
Second.
real quick. Next, so we're going in person. We do have our next Tuesday evening, we do have our budget workshop session.
Yeah.
So next Tuesday is
Yep.
another budget workshop session.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you guys and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Good night, everybody.